Hi everybody, very welcome to Mentour and yet another video podcast. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Today on the podcast, guys, we're going to be talking about those black lines that you can see painted on the 737 wing. What are they? What do they do? And can you use a flower spray pot to de-ice a 737 wing? Stay tuned. Right guys, this video is brought forward to you in cooperation with brilliant.org. Now brilliant.org is a website that will help you improve and perfect your math skills and your physics skills. So check out the link below. So guys, if you have been sitting at the overwing exits of a 737 and you've been looking out of the wings, you might have noticed that there are black lines that are painted in the center part of the wing out towards the wingtip, but it doesn't go all the way out. And they define little black boxes with some irregular shapes, right? You might have wondered what the reason for those black lines are. And as always, when it comes to aviation, it has a good reason for it, and it's always safety related. Okay. Now, in order to start explaining this, you need to realize that the governing principle when it comes to wings and contaminants on the wings, as in ice, is that we're supposed to have clean wings. Anytime we have any kind of ice or snow coming onto the wings, we use de-icing to get rid of it. Now, I'm going to do a separate podcast about wind drops later on, but today we're going to be talking about the ice that is formed because of what we call cold-soaked fuel frost. Now, once again, we're going to go back to when the 737, and in this case the 737NG, was being constructed. When the Boeing engineers wanted to create the new generation family, they wanted to do some changes to the wing and how the wing was constructed. One of the things they wanted to do was make it more aerodynamical, more efficient. And what they did was they made it slightly thinner. Okay, so the 737NG wing is slightly thinner than the classic wings are. The problem with doing that, which is something they very quickly realized, was that if you make the wing thinner, it means that the wing tanks, the main tanks that we're using, will come closer to the surface of the wing. That's not normally a problem. However, when you are filling the wings up with fuel and then you climb up into the atmosphere as we do, the temperature up at our cruising altitude can be as low as minus 65 degrees Celsius or even lower than that. Now, the wing will slowly cool down and so will the fuel inside of it. So the fuel will be reaching temperatures that can be as cold as minus 40 degrees even, but normally it drops to maybe minus 25 to minus 30 degrees. The lowest temperature that we're ever allowed for the fuel to reach is minus 43 degrees, okay, or 3 degrees above the freezing temperature if that's lower, sorry, if that's higher. Anyway, so this means that there's a lot of fluid inside of the wing tanks that is now really cold. When we're descending down, sometimes if we're doing tankering, for example, we might be landing with quite a lot of fuel still in the tanks. So if we're going into a place where the fuel is really expensive, then we might be tankering fuel in so that we can have fuel for the way back, or we might be flying to a destination where the alternate is so far away that we need a lot of alternate fuel, and that fuel is going to be still in the tanks when we land. Now, if that happens, and if we've been doing a long flight, so the fuel is really cold, when we're now descending down, then the fuel in the tank is not going to heat up at the same rate as the rest of the aircraft. So as we're touching down and taxiing in, the temperature of the fuel might now be as low as minus 10 degrees, and that is obviously, if it's touching the upper part of the wing, which it is if there's more than about 2 tons of fuel in each wing, then it's going to induce frost. And that is what we refer to as cold-soaked fuel frost. Okay, it's frost that's formed from the difference of temperature in the really cold fuel and the temperature outside and the moisture of the air. All right, follow me so far? Great. Now, this became a problem for Boeing because Boeing realized that even during the summer month, if you were flying a 737NG, you might have to de-ice on every single flight if this was the case. Because there was, you know, if you're doing 25-minute turnarounds, for example, there's not enough time for the fuel inside of the tanks to increase enough for the frost to melt by itself. So what Boeing did was they took the wings into doing wind tunnel testing, and after extensive wind tunnel testing, they could prove that if the only contaminants present was frost that was formed because of the cold fuel, that actually didn't have almost any aerodynamic effect. All right. So Boeing created these black lines on the wings, and what they said was, providing that the aviation authorities would approve the airlines to use this procedure, they could make sure the ice or the frost is confined inside of these black areas of the wings, then we are allowed to take off with the frost. All right, so this is a step away from the clean upper wing concept that I talked about in the beginning of the video. So that's the purpose of the black lines. Now, I should also mention that if there's any kind of precipitation, as in if it's raining, for example, on top of these cold soaked fuel frost areas, then we still have to de-ice, because it will very quickly form clear ice on top of the wings. Okay, or if it's snowing, or if there's any kind of visible moisture, so fog around, or just general wind drops, in that case, we're always safer than sorry, so we always de-ice the wings. This is basically a procedure that enables us to, on a good weather day, nice warm day, where the only frost available, or the only frost present, is because of the fuel, the cold fuel, we are allowed to depart without de-icing, because de-icing also costs a lot of money, and it takes time, and it's bad for the environment. Now, I promised as well in the beginning of the video that I would be talking about flower sprays, and the reason I took that up was in the beginning of my career, my airline was not allowed to use those black defined areas. We had to clean the wings, but the aviation authorities had approved us to use a limited amount of de-icing. Instead of using a big de-icing rig, which we normally do, and spray the whole wing, we were actually allowed to use what looked like a little flower spray. So it was a backpack with de-icing fluid inside, and then you would see ground personnel climbing up a ladder, pumping up the pressure, and then spray to get rid of that little area of ice on each wing. So you could actually see that happening, but since years that is gone, and I haven't seen any other airline or any other operator do it since. So now there's either you use those areas and you can take off with it, or you de-ice the wing completely. Okay. Guys, I hope you liked that explanation. I hope you have downloaded the Mentour Aviation app. It's a great community in there. And I want to finish this video off with thanking brilliant.org for sponsoring the video. Like I said, if you are if you want to improve your mathematical skills and your physics skills, and you want to do it in a fun way with real life examples, then check out the link below. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.